It is Saturday and it is race day. We are at the Podium 5K Festival in my hometown of Leicester. The tannoy has just said I am 20 minutes away from starting, so I am looking to go and start to get warmed up. This is the culmination of 8 weeks specific training to this goal. It is also the culmination of 13 years running. Set myself up running all those years ago when I started doing parkrun. Going sub 20 over 5K was the dream, and today is hopefully the day that I achieve it. Haven't really got a great deal to say at this point. It feels very different to a usual Saturday morning parkrun. Quite nervous. I think nerves can be a good thing in these situations. Had a bit more time this morning to get myself kind of hydrated and fed, so we will see how we get on. Yeah, we're about 25 minutes away now from the gun, so we're going to get our race shoes on, we're going to get the kit on that we're going to be racing in, make our way, do some warm-ups, do some strides, and then get going. So, fingers crossed, I'll see you on the other side. So with about 5 minutes to go, I got on the racetrack, did a couple of strides to get the heart rate up a little bit. At the start line itself, the race director announced there would be some paces and some at 20 minutes, which was a surprise but a welcome one. And before I knew it, it was go time. So my plan, which changed very quickly, was to try and stick with the paces as best I could for as long as I could. It was quite a frantic start and the paces got a little bit of ground on me right at the start. I didn't let that worry too much, as I knew that as the field started to shake out, I'd hopefully manage to catch them back up. Just to say, at this point, with all the kind of stress that was going on in the build up to the race, the technology I was using to capture the race myself in this first person view wasn't set up correctly, so I didn't capture as much of the race in that view as I would have liked. However, I did take some of the race feed, and you can see me in the race feed in a Run SDJ t-shirt. I've also tried to point out myself with an arrow so you can kind of see where I appear in the race as I go by. On the race day itself, my legs felt really good. Just a couple of weeks ago at the Leicester 10K, I had a little bit of a bad race. I actually kind of pulled out of the race at about the 5K point before some friends of mine got me going again. So I was a little bit worried going into the race about how I would feel. Also, I had a bit of a bad session on a treadmill while I was away from home, which meant I couldn't really train for about 4 days after that. In hindsight, I actually think that might have benefited me having a little bit more rest in a taper, so I was able to get to race day feeling really good. I also want to give a shout out to Sam from Function Jigsaw, who has been my physio since I picked up my knee injury in November. So I've been seeing him for regular physio and also a couple of sports massages in the run up to the race. And yeah, he really helped me get to the start line feeling as good as I possibly could. So now let's talk a bit more about the race. In this clip here, you can see that I'm pretty much running just off the shoulder of the pacer, which was exactly where I wanted to be. We had a little running group that we stuck together pretty much for the whole of the race, and I think we were helping to pull each other through. As I came into the straight to finish the first lap, my time for the first kilometre was exactly 4 minutes, which is right where I wanted to be. As the field started to space out a bit, I was hoping that my later kilometres I'd be able to pick up the pace a little bit more. The conditions for today's race were pretty much perfect. It was about 7 or 8 degrees, so it was quite chilly, hence why I was wearing a t-shirt. A lot of these people were braving vests, but I managed to keep my temperature relatively cool throughout the race. Now that the field had started to spread out a bit, the pacers were able to pick up the pace a little bit to get us slightly ahead of target, which was great. My second kilometre came in 5 seconds quicker than the first with a 3:55. At this point of the race, I was actually quite surprised at how good I was feeling. I wasn't feeling like the pace was going to drop off anytime soon, which was good. And the third kilometre came in at an even slightly quicker 3:54. With 2 kilometers left to go, I could start feeling my heart rate getting higher and higher. I felt like I was in a position that I hadn't really been in before. Some negative thoughts were starting to creep in, telling me that I wasn't going to be able to do this. But as I passed the 4th kilometer point, my time had slipped slightly, but was still in a strong position of a 3:56. After being surprised that we had pacers, I was surprised once again when the pacers peeled off after the 4 kilometer point, leaving us on our own to bring ourselves home in the 5th kilometer. The group I had run with for the whole race started to pull away from me a little bit in the final kilometer, and the final straight was the hardest I have ever run in my life. There was no way I was going to let this become a 20 minutes and 2 second race, so I gave it absolutely everything to the finish, and I just hoped that that was going to be enough. You may be wondering, why am I sitting in my car? Because the race village is very loud. There is someone constantly on the tannoy, and there's a lot of places that are just pumping music out. So this is the better place to do it because it is warm, and I'm not going to get a copyright strike for when I'm trying to record an outro. So the race is done, and I did it. So yeah, it's kind of unbelievable. I got 19 minutes and 52 seconds, and nobody can ever take that away from me now. Something I've been chasing since 2012, 2013 when I started running. I started going to park run, and for some reason this mythic time of sub 20 was always something that I was chasing. It started with chasing 21 minutes after I did a 21:02, and then it took, I got 21:02 maybe in 2013 or 2014, and then it took me the best part of 10 years to go sub 21, and then I've been trying to just get that extra sub 20 ever since, and I've tried a few times and failed to get that time. I won't say I've failed completely because I've got personal best along the way, so you can't say that a personal best is a failure, but I'd never got under 20 minutes. 2012 was my personal best going into today, so it was a 20-second personal best today, which is on any day amazing, and yeah, to get it under 20 minutes is wild. The race itself today was hard, very hard. It was completely different. I've never raced in an environment like that before. You know, I've done a couple of 100 park runs. I don't know how many other kind of like 5K runs, but never a race like that. You know, I was running in a very quick field of runners. I didn't think I would have a pacer today, but as I was on the start line, they announced that there were some pacers, and they pointed out someone who was a 20-minute pacer. So I just stuck to them like glue. They become your brain. You're forgetting about your pace, and you're just almost following them like you've got this kind of invisible rope between you and them. You don't want them to get too far ahead of you, and it meant that I was able to concentrate actually on my breathing and my form while I was running. You know, I wasn't looking at my watch every few seconds. I was trusting in the pacers that they were pacing the right pace. They broke off after the 4th lap. It was a 5-lap race, and they leave you to bring yourself home. I didn't realise that would happen, so when they peeled off, I just had to kind of remember what that pace felt like and just stick with the group of runners who I'd been with all the race. I was slightly worried coming into the final straight that I wasn't going to get it because the pack of runners I was with had started to break away a little bit. And by this point, I was feeling terrible. Terrible is not the right word. I was in deep in the pain cave. I didn't feel terrible. I was just working very hard, but I managed to find just a little bit of pace in the final straight. And in my mind, I was like, I'm going to cross the line in like 20 minutes and 2 seconds or something like that. And I really didn't want that to happen. So I found another gear and just went for it. My watch was kind of accurate. I think it pipped over 5K when there was maybe about 50 to 80 meters to go. So I was glad I wasn't relying on my watch. I was kind of going with the group that I was with, and every time I was passing the gantry for the finish, it was ticking over like 4 minutes, 8 minutes, 12 minutes. So I was like, okay, if my watch is saying this, I need to make sure I'm slightly ahead of it. So that's why I kind of went for it on the final straight. And yeah, I was pleased I did, and came in, I won't say comfortably, I came in uncomfortably under 20 minutes. I'm a bit lost for words. I've been trying for years to do this. When I picked up an injury in November, I was originally trying to do this in December 2024. And when you have to go back to run walking and you lose your fitness, bringing yourself back is hard, both mentally and physically. But I've put the work in. I'm really proud of the work that I've put in. I think I've gained enough experience now to listen to my body. The training plan that I bought had 5 runs a week. I was mainly doing 4. I don't feel like when I was coming back from injury, my body quite had it within it to be doing 5 runs a week. So I went a bit by feel. I made sure I was doing the hard sessions, the tempo runs, the progression runs, the interval runs. I was still doing a lot of the easy paced runs, but I was missing out maybe one of the recovery runs a week, or maybe a long run a week. I feel like I've approached it in the right way. And yeah, I'm in the sub 20 club, which is crazy for me. Having chased things for so long, and this one means more to me, I think, than any of the other things that I've done, just because I've got into doing marathons over the last 18 months to 2 years, and that's a different challenge, and I'm extremely proud of those challenges. But this is where I started out. This is the distance that I do more often than any other. My next thing is the London Landmarks Half Marathon in a few weeks. So I am going to be putting some training in over the next few weeks towards that. I'm not going to be, famous last words, I'm not going to be going for any kind of half marathon PB at that race because I haven't been conditioning myself to that. I was supposed to do the very first London Landmarks quite a few years ago, and I got injured, and it's one that I've wanted to do but haven't been able to do. So as my thing says, just keep turning up. I believe in that mantra, and pleased with how it's gone today. Give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time. See ya.